Yeah.
Welcome back to the Night Report podcast. We are in the post-bowl game edition. This is episode 16. Joining me once again is Richie Schneiderite, Chris Nowaski. Guys, we did look pretty damn good in that bowl game for probably the first half, but that Noah Vedral interception end of the half kind of turned the tide of the game. But I thought we looked better than I anticipated, given how many guys we had out.
Chris, you go first.
Yeah, I mean, we all kind of predicted that it would be a blowout. I mean, judging by the final score, it was. But really, Rutgers hung tough for, 3 quarters. And considering they didn't have a lot of their best guys, it was really something to be, inspired for, looking for next year. I mean, like you said, there was a lot of young guys got a lot of playing time, especially in the secondary. I have an article coming out a little bit about that. But yeah, it was a pretty good game for Rutgers given all the circumstances. I mean, they played 12 quarterbacks. It seemed like 12, 13 guys through a pass. But yeah, I mean, Rutgers really hung tough. Yeah, I mean, Wake Forest obviously was just too much offensively, but it was good to see the Rutgers fans get down there as well. But Rutgers playing a bowl game. It wasn't the way they wanted to go to a bowl game, but everything worked out in the end. They got a plane to go down there, so I'm sure that everyone's happy for that too.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of touched on it all. They used just about everyone else at quarterback. It was pretty wild to see, but yeah, Gavin Wimsatt didn't look bad. He had his ups and downs. It's expected. He's a true freshman. He's still learning. The kid's supposed to be a high school senior technically.
Yeah.
I think he might be the first ever kid that played a high school game, a college game, and a bowl game in one single season.
Yeah, because he was.
I think you're right.
The second guy to enroll, this early too. So
yeah, it was pretty wild. They showed glimpses of the future. Wimsatt has a very good feel for the pocket.
Yeah,
a little inaccurate at times. Still has a lot to work on. I know I have an article coming out later this week. I think Saturday or Sunday. I forget when I scheduled it for. With QB trainer Danny Hernandez, who actually who's been training Bryce Young, the recent Heisman winner since 6th grade. So add in that he's actually worked with Rutgers before back in the day with Jalen Chapman. A lot of people, I don't want to talk about that one, but it happened. So yeah, he works with a lot of California quarterbacks. He's got Malik Murphy, who he actually told me an interesting story about how Rutgers.
He was a big Rutgers guy, a big target, early.
Yeah, you'll see it in the article. But he basically told me like people would come up to him and be like, "Yeah, man, we know Rutgers is in your top 6, but it's not happening, right?" And he's like, "No, like they're like right there. Like Rutgers is right there with Texas, and Rutgers is right there with I forget who his other finalist was, A&M, I think." But regardless, it was definitely an interesting piece. I can't wait to post that one. But anyway, back to the game. Aaron Young showed glimpses of what could be a 3-down back next season. I don't think you really have a choice at this point. It looks like he will be your 3-down back. Sprinkle in Monangai, of course. Him healthy would have helped a lot this game. But Johnny Langan, holy hell. I know people are talking about him as like a surefire, like NFL, like top 4-round pick that's relaxed a little bit, but he definitely has potential. Like the staff figured it out. Like if he could keep developing this offseason, he could be one of the best tight ends in that's a tough one actually.
Yeah.
One of the best tight ends. It'll be a solid tight end.
He's a football player. I mean, everyone talks about him just being a football player. You ask him, what position he plays, he says, "I just play football." Dude lined up at a running back, basically tight end, took snaps at quarterback, ran the ball. He caught the ball well. I mean, this guy has really transformed it to be a really, really good offensive weapon. And then going back to Aaron Young, Richie. It was kind of a shame to see him get hurt. He had the first touchdown early on in the game after the first drive. And I mean, he's going to be a good player next year along with Kamanungai. Going back to Wimsatt, I'm really glad he brought up the pocket presence. He looks really smooth in the pocket. He's kind of a project in terms of throwing the ball, but he does have an arm. He is inaccurate though. But he's very smooth and poised in the pocket. He could run. Obviously, as we saw that, it kind of seemed like he was going to get tackled, but he kept on going in the one 30-yard run. So. I mean, Rutgers offensively, they kind of hung in there. They used Evan Simon at quarterback. Vedral played a lot. I'm not sure, we'll talk about it later. I was going to start talking about, who's going to start next year at the first game, but that's a topic for another day.
Yeah, I think you clearly saw the potential oozing out of Gavin in this game. He had from what I understand, he's been like a multi-sport athlete his whole high school career. Like he really didn't focus on football until like his junior year. And he, like you said, he'd never worked with a quarterback coach. Most of these high-level guys are like literally being like bred to be a quarterback. Like there's like, you've probably seen those videos of like the 10-year-old kids, like the next Zach Wilson kid that was like big. He was getting quarterback training at like 8 years old. So like Gavin, I think we need to give a pass because there's everything we've talked about. He shouldn't even be in college right now. That breakaway run though, he doesn't look that fast, but he was running away from like every DB on Wake, and he just slid at some point because he was being smart and didn't want to take a huge hit. Johnny Langland, I think, is like a smart play caller's dream, like chess piece. Like if you look at like a Sean Payton offense or like a Josh McDaniels offense, he's the guy that like kind of how like the Patriots use Jonnu Smith with a line him in the backfield. He can get a handoff, he can run out wide on a route. Like he's got a lot of physical ability, and he's also just tough as hell. I thought the most impressive thing, and this is kind of a dig at Rob Smith, like we were able to get pressure in that game. Like we took away that RPO long mesh that they wanted to run. If you guys like noticed throughout the game, they didn't really run it the second half. Like they couldn't run that because we were getting so much disruption in the middle. Like Julius Turner did a really good job just creating like constant pressure in there. So I think the defense was called really well. It's just we didn't have the horses. By the end of the game, we were just worn down. But I thought they did a great job game planning for this game. We saw a lot of creativity in the play calling, especially that Isaiah Washington like pass back to Johnny Langan on the sideline. I was inspired for the future in this game. Like Gavin didn't look great, but you saw the potential there. That one rollout he had on 3rd and 4, I want to say, to Isaiah Washington, where he was rolling to his right and threw across his body the middle of the field, like a perfect throw, like on a rope to Isaiah Washington. Like you saw what he could be, but I think he needs to be refined. And I think he's going to get that in spring practice and throughout the offseason. I'm really hopeful, even if we don't have a winning record next year, that we will be building towards something.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head, especially with that last sentence. Next year's going to be a lot tougher. The schedule gets really tough. You had Boston College, who's coming to town? I think 2 Big Ten West. I think it's Iowa.
I know they play Nebraska. Could be. I think they do play Iowa too. Yeah.
Yeah. So it gets a lot like the Big Ten West flip flops, and you get a lot tougher schedule. Nebraska's coming to SHI Stadium. They're no joke. You're playing Minnesota. Iowa at SHI is going to be tough, and then you end the season like with Maryland, Iowa, Michigan State, Michigan, Penn State. It's not pretty. Yeah. By any means. But before that, you get Nebraska, Minnesota, Ohio State, one after another. And it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a lot of young guys. You're going to have to get them basically just experience at this point. This is going to be a rebuilding year, and fans are going to have to understand that. I don't see a 5-7 bowl game happening again, but we could dive into that one a couple episodes later when we talk like, I guess way too early season predictions, but yeah, I mean, you saw glimpses of what this team could do, and, they're going to have to add a couple new coaches too.
Yeah. So that's kind of the thing I wanted to touch on next. We're having the first turnover of the Shiano 2.0 era in terms of coaching staff. So we have 2 confirmed coaches leaving so far: Rob Smith and Adam Shire, the special teams coordinator. There's been some kind of speculation that we might not have a full-time special teams coordinator role moving forward. Are you guys hearing the same thing, or is it kind of like amorphous right now? It's just, I know Greg keeps everything very close to the chest, but are you guys hearing anything regarding potential replacements along any of these roles?
You want me to go, Chris? Or
sure. Yeah.
I mean, I haven't heard the whole, like, he's not going to have a special teams coordinator. I do think you kind of need one, but I guess technically he has done it before. So if you have a QC and you're going to pay him enough, like, I know the rumor was that Adam Shire was going to stay on staff. And if he stayed on staff, great. That's perfect. Like you could pay him whatever his rate was, $250, $275. Keep him on staff as like a QC or an analyst or whatever you want to call it. And then there's your special teams coordinator. Now, if you can get another top tier recruiter, it's hard to really say like you need a special teams coordinator. It's like recruiting is, at the end of the day, most important thing. In terms of who's going to replace him, I have no idea in hell. Greg is being so close to vest with this stuff. But I was doing some digging yesterday, and there is a couple new names I started looking at. Like one is I didn't mention on my hot board, which I probably messed up and probably should have. Billy Miller, the IMG Academy special teams head coach. Now the connection with him is that he was Greg's special teams coordinator down in Tampa. And he also was a GA with Rutgers. I forget what year it was. I had it pulled up too.
He was the special teams coach at Rutgers, it says on his IMG profile.
Maybe that's what it was. Yeah. Okay. There you go. Yeah. So it's an interesting name. Other than him, I mean, there's some other ones. I guess you could technically steal Bob Ligashevsky out of Syracuse. He just got hired by Syracuse like 3 weeks ago, whatever it was. But he also was Greg's other special teams coordinator down in Tampa. I don't see a guy like Darren Rizzi leaving. There's no way in hell anyone from the NFL that is a full-time special teams coordinator is just going to be like, yeah, I'm going to Rutgers. Like,
and he's like one of probably the top 5 special teams coordinators in the NFL. Like he's stuck around in New Orleans for a long time on that staff. And typically that means you're really good at your job.
Yeah. So like it makes no sense. Like, why would you even bother like leaving if that was the case? There were some other names I have pulled up right here. Someone else. I can't remember who it was. Where the hell was it? Whatever. I'll figure it out later. I'll post it on the boards or something. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I don't know necessarily what they do with special teams. Now, going to defensive coordinator, this is where things get tricky. People think because DJ Durkin is now the DC at Texas A&M that Elijah's just going to be like, I don't want to be here. Fuck this.
Is that final?
It's tweeted by Thamel, so yeah.
I've seen a couple reports about that.
So basically, yeah, it's like final. But yeah, do people think like Elijah's just gonna be like, I'm out, like fuck this? Like, no, stop. Like Jimbo Fisher loves Elijah Robinson. Like, yeah, should he have given him the DC job? It's a risk in the SEC. You can't just promote a guy that has zero experience. Let him work under Durkin, let him keep going up and up and up. And they have enough money that they could just probably pay him like the DC or very similar at least.
Yeah, I was going to say the tiers that he might have will be dried by the extra 200, 300K that he'll probably get. So,
yeah, so that's a tough one. I don't see Elijah coming. If you could get Elijah, that'd be huge. But at the end of the day, you have your South Jersey guy. I wouldn't complain. You got Fran Brown. He's going to be able to dominate pretty much. I do think Temple's going to be a little bit of a thorn in their side because they are adding some nice pieces over there. Now, at the end of the day, is a kid really going to choose Temple over Rutgers? Probably not, but I could see maybe one kid every couple cycles being like, I'm going to be the new face of Temple or something like that.
Yep.
So that's going to be a little bit tougher. But in terms of other DC candidates, I'm hearing Partridge's name. Now, if he doesn't get the DC job at Ole Miss, that's where it gets interesting. Because I heard that he would be pretty pissed off if he didn't get it. But at the same time, Kiffin is going to do whatever it takes to keep him and Watson on board. Watson is a key piece in this cog. A lot of people.
I was going to say, it sounds like they are very inextricably tied. Like wherever one goes, the other will.
That's where it gets interesting because he is a key piece in this whole thing. That Watson is arguably one of their better recruiters on staff. He's just not an on-field coach, which is crazy. Like he's ranked in all these top 30 under 30 US. I think he's in the higher half of that as well. He's very well known for recruiting defensive linemen. He's a big reason why they have Tywan Malone in the first place. And he's a big reason why they're arguably the favorite right now for Sadir Mitchell. So I mean, UAN East, it's such a tough call. If Greg can get him on his DC, get Partridge on his DC, he's bringing Watson with him, and that would go back to the rumor that everyone keeps talking about of Panago's probably not being here.
Right.
So
he was at Rutgers prior, right? Watson,
yeah, he was at Rutgers. He was a GA under Corey Brown.
Under Ash, right?
Yeah, Chris Ash, but I meant Corey Brown, the D-line coach. But if you win those two, you're probably getting Igbenogson to start.
Yep.
Let's just start with that one. That's a huge one. Shout out to him. I kind of feel sorry for him after everything that just happened. He just tested positive, so he's going to be out of the bowl game this week.
Oh, he was like one of the top performers down there. I've seen so many tweets of like his like practice videos and stuff.
Yeah, I know our Rivals national guys that are down there had him as a top performer after day one of practice. Ryan Patty actually is set to go down there today or tomorrow, I forget. So he was going to go cover that announcement. I don't know what the deal is with the announcement now. If he's having one, not having one, right. I don't really know.
My guess would be probably no, but that's just
it's tough because the kid loves the spotlight. So if he could figure it out, I think he'll find a way to do it. Regardless, if you land Partridge and Washington, you get Igbenogson to start. you might be the favorite for Sadir Mitchell if you get them to.
So I did want to talk about that situation. So it's a little bit different because signing day in February, you have to, if you sign an LOI, you're attached to that school, it's binding.
Yeah.
But that obviously doesn't happen until February. You could sign the grant and aid paperwork where you lock into a certain school in a conference.
And I'm told he's not doing that regardless, I was told.
He's not going to do that. Okay,
Yeah.
then this is kind of pointless. So
he's literally just enrolling at a school. And can you enroll at 2 schools and just be like, yeah, I'm going to that one?
Well, the grant and aid paperwork locks you just into that school in that conference. So if you sign that paperwork for Ole Miss, that means he can't go anywhere else in the SEC, but he could also sign it at a different school. So if he signed with Rutgers and Ole Miss, he's locked into those 2 conferences. So he could still go somewhere else. But
yeah, I was told he's basically just applied for both, and it's just like he's going to get accepted, obviously. But it's more like he's just going to pick, and he's just going to enroll like maybe he won't enroll day 1 when the semester happens. Maybe it might be day 2 or day 3 or et cetera. I don't even know when the semester starts for Rutgers.
He's an early enrollee though.
Yeah, he's an early enrollee 100%. So that's where it gets interesting. Okay. Like we'll probably know where he's going if he doesn't announce on Saturday.
Right.
We'll probably know that by Monday, maybe tops.
Yeah.
The spring semester starts at some point this month. So
yeah, I don't know when exactly, but it's going to be
usually like 20th or around that time frame, something like that.
Yeah. So now. Sorry, go on.
There's also rumors that Jimbo Fisher wants Partridge as well, I'd heard. So it sounds like Partridge is getting pulled in a lot of different directions. I'd imagine if he doesn't get the DC role in Ole Miss, either he's going to be a DC somewhere or he's going to leave for more money. That's kind of what the read from everything I've been reading online. Obviously, that might not happen, but I can't imagine Igbenus and it landing at Ole Miss if those guys aren't there, regardless if he goes to Texas A&M, Rutgers, right?
Yeah, probably not. I think I don't know. Lane Kiffin's done a hell of a job, so he might be able to land Igbenogson regardless. But at the end of the day, if Partridge goes to Rutgers, I think Igbenogson goes to Rutgers. If not, and Partridge hypothetically goes to A&M, I don't know where he would fit because I don't think they have an open spot. But hypothetically, he went to A&M. I could still see Igbenogson choosing Ole Miss. He loves Lane Kiffin though. Lane Kiffin is one of the best recruiters out there, whether people want to admit it or not. Is he slimy? Does he piss people off? Yeah, probably, but he's good at his job. He just gave Ole Miss one of their best seasons in what? Yeah. I don't even know, 20 years?
Yeah.
Maybe?
So they've had 3 10-win seasons since 1971.
Yeah.
This was one of them.
Exactly. So it's like, I can't understand. Like, I saw the post on the board. One guy said that, like, the Ole Miss boosters pissed at Kiffin. Like, you think Kiffin gives a fuck?
No. And do you think the people at Oxford care either?
No.
They only care about winning.
You got us 10 wins. Let's go. Let's keep riding.
Remember how hard they fought to keep Hugh Freeze, even though he was like one of the biggest. He was like texting like prostitutes on like an Ole Miss phone, right? Was that what's going on?
Yeah. I think that's what it was. That's so bad. And now he's at Liberty where he does it publicly.
Yep.
Oh, geez, that was a rough one. But I don't know what they're gonna do for DC. I guess you could still reach out to Ant Camp over at Miami. But again, like these guys, once they're in the NFL, like, they realize how easy it is to actually focus on coaching and not recruiting and coaching.
Yep.
And it's like, fuck that. Why the hell would I do that? Especially with NIL. I wouldn't want to do that right now.
No, and in the NFL, you actually get time off. Like when the season's over, you know, there's OTAs and minicamp and stuff like that, but you have blocks of time where they don't expect you to do work. College is legitimately 24/7, 365.
Yeah, college. Yeah, you're always recruiting somebody somewhere. So absolutely. Yep.
So that opens up the question: is Bob Fraser probably the best bet? Probably. If you strike out on Partridge and Robinson, I guess, yeah, probably. I would go Fraser, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And then just go hire a recruiting shark who's an assistant coach. I know if you don't have a special teams coach, that could open up hypothetically 2 position coaches. And then you could just kind of mix and match. Like people are like, yeah, but why would we add another DB coach? Well, if the guy's a hell of a recruiter, who the hell cares? Put him at cornerback.
Exactly.
Put him at safeties. I don't know. But there's so many stupid titles out there that like there's an inside wide receivers coach for one team.
Really?
That's been Texas Tech's thing for a long time.
Well,
like you don't really do anything. Like
wow.
There's a wide receivers coach. He's gonna do that. You're not like, yeah, cool. You're just gonna handle the slot guy. That's it. Like It's all bullshit. It's just like, here's an interior defensive line coach. Like, yeah, this guy's gonna handle the line, but you are gonna handle the tackles. Like, come on, are you really doing it? Like, what was the one? One was like the most notable one's always like DC and outside linebackers.
Mm-hmm.
Is he really doing anything? He's running the entire defense at that point. Who cares?
Yep.
Just a title and a pay bump at the end of the day. That's all it ever is. But
Yep. So if Fran gets like a co-DC role, he's not probably calling the defense. It's just a way to get him more money and justify it.
yeah, and you can figure out those titles, and it's just like, I don't even know if I would. You can give him co-DC. I might try to like
Assistant head coach.
hold that. Yeah, I might give him that for now. It's like, you're the associate head coach. I'm gonna put your name right here, but co-DC is right there. That's next, buddy. And it's like, no, like, just here's more money.
Yeah, well, isn't there like a bit on The Office about that, where he's fighting for a raise, but all they can give him is like a title change. And
Yeah,
takes it.
it's like the stupidest thing ever. But I do think that it's interesting. I do think Rutgers might have more money than people think at this point, just because, like, if you're gonna rock without a special teams coach and you're just gonna pay some dude like 250 to 300 just to be an off the field coach, it's like, all right, now you're playing big ball. Now it's about time that we see Rutgers ante up a little bit. So if they could do that, it's going to be interesting. I don't know if it's going to work out. I do think they might end up hiring a special teams coordinator at the end of the day, but who knows? We'll see at this point.
Yeah, more to come. I'm sure this will be kind of moving quicker. I know that they're off this week. Like, Shiano gave the staff off, but they have the National Coaching Clinic, the coaching convention that happens, I think, on the 8th and 9th, which is this weekend already. That's in Texas.
Yep.
That's usually where a lot of the new hires happen throughout the college coaching landscape. So we'll probably hear something in the next week, if I had to guess, about one of the open slots.
Yeah, I'd probably say that's pretty accurate. You'll probably see a couple player development guys leave and move on or move somewhere else. I know we saw one already in Andrew Pierce.
Andrew Pierce. Yep, he's the RB coach at Delaware now.
Yeah, Delaware's going to be decent now. I'm intrigued to see them, just because Ryan Carty is the guy that we've been hyping up for years and upon years as an OC genius.
Yep.
Getting a head coaching job. So see what happens.
Yeah, Delaware is one of the better FCS jobs in the country. They always have, a ton of talent. There's like a weird obsession in Delaware with UD. So a lot of their top kids end up going there, even some kids with FBS options. So
yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I remember before, the season when Rutgers was playing Delaware, that it was a game where, like, Rutgers can't take them lightly. It was one of those. Yeah, it was basically one of those games. It wasn't like them playing Wagner, next season. So
yeah. I mean, honestly, I'd rather play a Wagner than a Delaware each year. Everyone looks at them as the same, basically, as FCS schools. You play an FCS school close, you look bad. You just have to beat the shit out of them. Like, we beat the shit out of Delaware, and that was,
right.
What they came here for. That's what Rutgers is hoping for. So
they just want to win on the to get they want to win to get the 6 wins. Basically, it's all it's for.
Yep. So I want to talk a little bit of transfer portal stuff. So we've obviously the high school recruiting class is basically finished, other than as if Davison wants to join, they'll hold a spot for him as long as he's available. We've been following a lot of wide receivers, a lot of offensive linemen, a handful of linebackers and defensive linemen. Are you guys hearing anything on the transfer portal? Any new names that we should be taking a look at? Because we did have a new offer from JD DiRenzo, who's a St. Joe's Hamilton grad who was at Sacred Heart the last 4 years. He's a standout offensive lineman. But that seems to be the last offer we've sent out since the last pod.
Yeah, it's tough. I know someone commented on it on the Ask the Experts. They're like, they only sent out 7 offers so far. It's like, yeah, no, not really. Like, yeah, we've only been able to find and report 7 offers so far, or 8 maybe. I forget if for DiRenzo's 7 or 8, but these kids aren't like high school kids. They're not going to go out and like tweet out all their offers. It's not like they have a bunch of transfer profiles everywhere that are like, oh, hype them up. Like, they're at the point where they're either a year in, 2 years in, some are even a semester in, and they're ready to get on and move on to their next school. And they don't really care about tweeting and all this stuff and all this nonsense. So there's probably a lot more offers out there than we think. I know I talked to an offensive lineman the other day doesn't hold a Rutgers offer, but he told me he holds about like 25 different offers from schools.
Wow.
All like 10 of them, 10 to 12 are Power 5. And it's like he just doesn't care. He told me, he's like, I just want to get this done and over with. I don't want to make all the nonsense, make all the noise, do all these crazy interviews all over again.
Mhm.
So you won't see a lot of these kids report offers. But speaking of JD Dorenzo, the most recent one, Patty's supposed to talk to him today around right now, actually. So
nice.
he should be getting back to me soon. We're probably going to post that as soon as possible. I don't know where his status is with Rutgers. I know he's obviously a St. Joe's Hamilton kid. They have a little connection there. I know
Keyshawn Griffin goes.
Sean Griffin went there. There's a Kywan Lewis is an assistant coach there.
Oh yeah, he was the South Carolina Rutgers guy.
Yeah,
Or he went to South Carolina then Rutgers.
Yep.
So yeah, he's an assistant coach down there. So there's a couple connections. It's possible they land him, but I know me and Mike have talked about it a little bit. Based on what we've heard, it's just he's not super, like, location isn't a super big factor in terms of his decision. So I don't know if I'd take it to the bank on this one by any means. So it's gonna be tough. Rutgers is gonna just keep pursuing. I think it's gonna be an offensive lineman, it's gonna be a linebacker, and it's gonna be a wide receiver. And I think that's the three. After that, you can kind of pick and choose and be a little picky. Obviously, they want a tight end and Steven Stellanos, but do you really need one with Johnny Langan there?
Mhm.
Probably not. But
Yeah.
Yeah, and they still have Matt Alimo and Victor Konopka coming up.
I'm intrigued to see if Alimo stays on.
Yeah. Okay.
I am really, because he's obviously losing snaps
Right.
each and every game. Johnny Langan clearly has surpassed him by miles.
Hmm.
And I do think Konopka is going to pass him too. Konopka's been pretty good blocker so far. So we'll see what happens there. But and then you're adding, did they add a tight end in this class? They did, Mike Higgins too. So it's going to be interesting. I do think those three positions are the priorities. After that, you kind of mix and match to choose maybe a fourth or fifth guy. I don't see them going really past 5 transfers in, at least. I do think there's still a lot of guys that need to transfer out to just even get to the 85 mark.
Yep.
So we'll see. It's going to be an interesting couple months, I guess.
Yeah, and that's a good point about the offer thing. Like I get pretty into who's following who and whatever, and it does seem like there's some people who really do like the attention. Some people, I feel like if they post one offer, they feel obligated to post them all. Because it sounds like that guy JD DiRenzo isn't like an attention seeker, but he posts his offers. Whereas a guy like Brendan Rice, Jerry Rice's son, he entered the transfer portal. He's a freshman from Colorado, and he's like, for the people who are like wondering, like, I have 30 plus offers. I don't feel the need to post them all. So there's a lot of that. It's overwhelming. Like, this is still something that's very new. So a lot of these guys, like, do you remember the article about Miles Frazier? He had like 12,000 messages on Instagram, and Twitter and everything.
It's ridiculous. And then that's an FIU kid from a 111 football team. Like, that's just one example of one kid. Like, it's insane. The whole thing's nuts. I kind of hate it, to be honest.
Yeah, I wish there was a more structured way to do this. There was an interesting name that entered the portal today. It doesn't look like we've started following him yet, but he's a name that we probably all remember. He's an Erasmus Hall kid, Sean Ryan. Do you remember him, the wide receiver? Originally went to Temple. He's at West Virginia.
Yeah, did he ever do anything at Temple? I know he kind of sucked at West Virginia, to be nice.
So he didn't do much. He transferred after his freshman year at Temple. He actually had a decent year last year for West Virginia. So he had 25 catches, 399 yards, 3 touchdowns. He graded out pretty well too. He graded out at like a 68 on PFF. That was his career high. So he's not bad. He was in like the upper quarter of wide receivers according to the PFF grade. So, I mean, he'd probably play here. He's only got 1 year left. Obviously, the Erasmus Hall connection. Who knows if we'll go after him? It seems like we have been setting our hopes pretty high on the guys we have targeted. Like, there haven't been anybody that I've looked up and been like, why the fuck would we want this kid? Like, it's always been like, oh yeah, he would definitely start here for the most part.
Yeah, he's good. Like, I mean, I remember him in high school, he was good, but you know what I also remember? I remember Chris Ash, like, almost passing on him, or actually passing on him and then reigniting it like very late and be like, oh no, we need you now. Like, the same thing he did with like every other kid. It's like, yeah, we don't need him. And then February or December comes, it's like, fuck, we don't have anybody.
Yeah, we can't flip this Miami of Ohio recruit who's committed to Northern Colorado. What are we going to do?
So which one was that? There was one that they couldn't flip. That was like a G5 kid.
Yeah, it was Miami of Ohio
That's
went
what it was.
like 1-11 or 0-12, and they had a commit from Colorado who we were recruiting, and we weren't able to flip him.
That's so bad. I remember that. That was so bad. Like it's embarrassing.
Yeah, like one, why offer him? Two, if you're gonna go after a kid like that late in the process and you don't land him, that makes it look so much worse. You might as well just not even go after the kid if that's gonna be the case. So yeah, so in terms of like visits for these kids, is there any sort of like planned visit schedule, or is it basically like whenever this kid says, if we're interested in him, this is, say he only can visit on like a random Thursday, that's just when the staff's going to have to be there. There's no like, this isn't like high school recruiting where there's a big visit weekend they try and get kids to go to.
So I think technically they can visit as early as this weekend, but obviously with the coaching convention, all kinds of other things, they can start visiting whenever. Actually, it's just it's weird. Like you said, they're on vacation. They need a break. I mean, these guys have been going at it for what, 6 months, maybe 7 months? No, something like that.
Yeah, and Shiano said that it was like the hardest week of his career leading up to that bowl game.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely hard to prepare a team that hasn't practiced in a month, and then you're missing guys. These guys never played a single starter snap before, and now you're like, go. You're going to go play 40 snaps. Desmond Open, for example, was a guy who we didn't see much of this season. We saw him in a couple.
Oh my God, he was phenomenal in that game.
It's like, it makes no sense. It's absolutely insane. And then he just looked, I think he had the highest PFF grade, if I recall.
Yeah, I believe so.
I mean, he flashed the most for sure on the team. Like of anybody on the entire team, he was the guy who's like, who is that? Because he's changed his number also, because he used to be 34, I think, and now he's number 4. So it's like, who the hell is this?
Well, I know a lot of people, I don't know if it was on the live stream last week or 2 weeks ago or whatever it was, but I remember I'm going to pat my own chest here. One of us said, I think it was me actually, I'm not 100% sure, that said that Igbenogson could push for starting playing time next year.
He should be a starter. Like there's nobody that brings what he brings in the secondary.
Who you mentioned?
Avery Young.
Yeah, I agree. But
Isian's undersized, but he's a playmaker. He's a sure tackler. He's fast. Like
I would debate putting Avery back at corner. I hate to say it.
Yeah.
But like it's interesting because your cornerbacks next year are Max Melton, Kassan Abram, and then Longerbeam.
Probably.
Longerbeam, Braswell.
Well. Yeah.
I know. I'm actually talking to Braswell's trainer. He said he is fully healthy. As of yesterday, he was telling me about it. He goes, he's 100%. He's ready to go. Very excited. I'm intrigued to talk to him more because I'm going to have an article on him next week. But I don't know how much he was really with the team, which is like weird to me. Because I don't recall seeing him in any of the practices. I know he's injured, so I guess you don't have to be there technically. But yeah, I don't recall even seeing him around the program. But then I saw a picture of him another day in like the whole Rutgers, like I don't even know what you call it, a workout uniform, I guess at this point.
Yeah.
So I'm intrigued to learn more about that. But it does seem like he's still on the team as of right now. He's still on the roster, so I'm intrigued. He's a very good player, and we saw him shine his freshman year at Temple or sophomore year at Temple. One year he looked good, the next year he looked bad.
Yeah, he did have a really standout year where he led the team in interceptions and pass breakups. Like he was pretty good.
I think it was the same year where like Ifeanyi Major played really well. So that was 2 years ago.
Yeah, I remember talking to the Temple guys, and they told me when he was CB2, like he was phenomenal. When they bumped him up to CB1 the next year, it's like know.
Yeah, he was primarily their slot corner, I believe, or their nickel corner.
So, I mean, put him in that role. And then you have Kassan Abram, who's been pretty damn good this season. And then Max Melton, when not being stupid, is pretty damn good too.
You also have Elijah Clark, who can play, safety or cornerback, really be phenomenal. I know he was banged up a little bit this year, even in the spring too. I remember asking Shannon about him. He was banged up then too. But yeah, he's a good player. I'm sure he'll fit somewhere too.
Yeah, and Loyal played his first minutes.
Loyal played really well, yeah.
Yeah.
Like our secondary low-key could be pretty good next year. Like not top of the Big Ten level good, but like competent, like where it's just not a sieve anymore.
Yeah.
And I think
it's a lot of young guys who got a lot of experience this season. So I mean it only bodes well for the future.
Now it's the linebackers that are question mark. Like
Yeah,
Powell,
but
at least
there's a lot of good talent at linebacker coming in, and on the roster, but they're young, so that's why they're obviously going in the transfer portal looking for like an older guy.
Yeah, the future is bright at linebacker for sure between Powell, Banton, Anthony Johnson, and Moses Walker. But like you said, I think we're going to see a lot of similarity between like the DBs this year and the linebackers next year, where there is guys who flash like once a game. You're like, holy crap, he's really good, and then they have struggles. But
sure,
yeah, I mean Powell's been phenomenal. I don't even think we have to talk about defense. I think they're all pretty young. They're all going to be developing. They're all going to be a solid defense once again. It's just their offense is so questionable. If you can't protect Wimsat, you are fucked.
Yeah.
Yep.
You need offensive line and you need to give them some playmakers. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you got one in Langen. You got Aaron Young looked pretty good. It's just the receiving core. Like Shameen Jones didn't look this entire season he was like he had what, 100-yard game, maybe 2. He's got to step it up. Joshua Youngblood kind of came on in the bowl game a little bit, but then he had the fumble, so it's like,
it was good. I'm glad you mentioned it. It was good to see a Youngblood, returning kicks. I know a lot of fans have been asking about that, and he looked pretty good, to be honest. I think he had like over 20 yards average on kick return. So
that fumble.
I mean, rightfully so. He was
fumble.
First team All Big 12 kick returner his freshman year. Like, clearly showed he could do it, and then he comes here and we have 2 or 3 guys ahead of him in the pecking order. It didn't make sense.
Need Cruikshank to be healthy next year. That's the big key. If you want to make any type of noise whatsoever on offense, you need him.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, you definitely won't see him in the spring. That's for sure.
It's a shame because I think the 2 guys we probably didn't talk about I'm trying to think. The 2 guys that you probably need the most next year, and Munnerlin, who looked really good in a couple practices. Guess we could talk about that now. I don't really know.
Yeah, sure. It's over.
It's over, I guess. But he looked really good early on, all throughout training camp, and then boom, injury. It's like,
yeah, the staff was very high on him.
Gonna be a good
I know
player.
one of the coaches even mentioned to us before training camp that Munnerlin was one to watch.
Yeah,
there was whispers of like a secret weapon on offense, and that was the rumored guy. And so it sounds like he was the standout young guy.
Tall, quick, pretty good hands, just a little skinny, little rail thin, but it kind of sucks to lose him. But I mean, is he going to be healthy by training camp? With today's day and age of medicine, I think you would say yes, probably.
Yeah. I think the interesting thing with him was that, I mean, he was a lightly recruited guy out of Ohio. He was announced as a tight end, but basically like a week into him being on campus, they switched him to wide receiver, which means he's a way better athlete than they could have anticipated. Yeah. So that's a huge plus. Like he's gonna make an impact, I feel, because you don't typically move guys up at an athletic tier. Like if a guy, is announced as a defensive lineman, you don't see him switch to linebacker, for example, or you don't see like a linebacker switch to corner. And that's kind of what like moving to tight end to wide receiver is. It's just your athleticism is better than the position you would call for the most part.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a really good one as long as he heals up and everything. Adding Cruikshank. They're still very high on Brandon Sanders. I don't know why, but I mean, I guess his numbers he had put up.
Is he back next year though?
Yeah, he's back. I
thought he was a grad.
I know he was a PWO technically when we first talked to him, but I'm fully convinced him and Howard Pierce are on scholarship at this point. So that adds to the number 2 that we don't know what the fuck this number is. And Shiano math is a weird type of math. It's harder than algebra. It's harder than pre-calc, I heard. But I don't know.
Shiano always figures it out though. He doesn't cheat in that sense, but he always is very creative when it comes to scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a tough one. He's unique with it. I'll give him that.
Yep.
So more to come on the football team. Basketball, we had an 18-day layoff or layover or whatever you want to call it due to COVID concerns. The last game, we had a break between the Seton Hall game, which was played on December 12th, and the main game was played on December 30th.
Yep.
And it seemed like all the team needed was some time off. I don't know how much practicing they were doing, how much game planning they were doing and change. You don't really get this big of a gap in a basketball season typically, but they look like a totally different team since they came off that break.
Yeah. It's kind of like a both sides of the coin. Obviously you don't want to have the pause for COVID, But as far as Geo Baker was saying, kind of was like a blessing in disguise, at least for him. He has hamstring injury, and then they came out firing in that main game. They really shot the ball well. The last 3 games, they've had either 20 or more assists, which has been done in more than a decade. I wrote that in the article that I wrote up this morning. Yeah, they just really shot the ball well. Sharing the game, as Coach Pike always says. They really need these wins, especially last night against Michigan, first ever win against Michigan. If Rutgers wants to be in the NCAA tournament conversation again, like we all thought that was dead, a couple weeks ago. I mean, they need to, string together a couple more wins. They have some, teams coming up in the season, in the near future that they'll be able to possibly do that. They can't lose on Saturday against Nebraska. That'll be another killer, almost like a Lafayette type killer for the resume. But yeah, it was good to see them win last night. The Rack was, had a good crowd there. And yeah, they came out firing, shooting the ball again well from 3. They got out to a big lead. Every time Michigan kind of came back, they came, Rutgers punched them right back and hit a 3 or got a foul, made some free throws, whatever the case might be. They play really good defense. I know Michigan was kind of undermanned a little bit, but a win's a win, and the standings won't reflect who Michigan has, who Michigan doesn't have. So I don't know. There was a little bit of like skirmish a little bit at the end of the game. I personally didn't see it until afterwards, but I think it was just kind of Michigan kind of playing hard to the end, and there was a screen on Caleb with a couple seconds left. So yeah, maybe that's something we can revisit down the line when Rutgers plays them again.
Yeah, I think the best part about last night was our 2 stars played like stars, and our role players, when given opportunities, hit big shots. Like Caleb McConnell hit that corner 3 when he was wide open, which was huge. Paul hit a couple 3s when he was wide open, which was huge. Andre Hyatt started the game really rough. Like he had 2 really ugly turnovers to start the game, but then he came back, had a really huge and 1 late in the game. Like they are getting contributions from their secondary scorers, which we weren't getting early in the season. So if we can take the load off of Gio and Ron as we kind of get into Big Ten play, and those guys can step up when they're called upon, this team has a chance of making the tournament still, but they need these kind of efforts in a consistent manner.
Yeah, absolutely. The one Achilles heel for Rutgers has been consistently shooting the ball well. They still haven't shot the ball well from the foul line. But in overall, in 3-point percentage, they're like 32% overall in the season. But they actually lead the Big Ten right now currently at 46%. So that's something to keep an eye on, see if they can keep that up. But yeah, like you said, Caleb, Paul, Cliff played well last night. It'll be big for the bench guys, to come in and play well. They haven't really got any production, and like you said, Rutgers. I'm sure Ron and Gio and Caleb and Paul, they're gonna get tired out at some point. They're gonna have to have the rest of their teammates come in and do some damage. So if they want to beat the big teams consistently, they're gonna need added production from other guys on the team. But yeah, they played extremely well last night. I know Peichel was asked about, is it the best they've ever played? And Peichel goes, yeah, they played well, but they could play better. So I mean, I guess the coach is never satisfied, but they combined for, what was it, 47 points last night. So they were just unconscious. Now at one point, Gio was kind of was kind of heat checking himself, but yeah, Ron I think was like 5 for 6 from 3. So it was good to see them really shoot the ball well, but they have to do it consistently also.
Do I want to play devil's advocate here?
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, you always do. So
I know. I tend to look at I guess, yeah, damn, I do actually. That's kind of sad. I know, like, they don't have their whole team. Like, they had, like, it's a good win. Yes, yeah. I'm not going to negate that. They played phenomenal, but the fact that they only beat them by 8 points, and they were missing 3-4 players. I think 4 players actually. It's tough because, like, yeah, they're not starters. Who cares? Like, no, basketball's a team sport at the end of the day. Number one. Number two, they're playing a walk-on in Juwan Howard's son at one point. And like, it's not like these kids are nobodies. Like, Brandon Johns is a kid that lit up Rutgers for 20 something, like last year, the year before, I forget what it was. The other 2 are key contributors too. Like, it's a good win, yes, but if you're not getting 47 points out of Baker and Harper every night, you're not winning these games.
Absolutely.
And I don't know what the idolization is of Andre Hyatt. I would have played Jaden Jones over him after that questionable play that Mike was talking about. A lot Mag barely played. That's the other guy thing. Like this is like you look at these minutes. This is like a Tom Thibodeau type lineup that he had last night. Like 39 minutes for Gio. This man is injury prone as hell, and you're gonna play him 39 minutes.
Right,
that can't happen every game.
Right. Yeah, and that's why I mentioned, the other guys need to step up. They're going to get tired out. And going back to Mag, he had some dental stuff again, so he was at the dentist last night.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, outside of the starters, only one guy got double-digit playing time last night, and that was Hyatt in terms of minutes.
There's only 2 guys that had more than 9 points. That's what I'm saying. Like they need to, like Chris is right. They need to fucking step up. And Cliff, the fuck are these dudes we and Mike talked about before we started? There's just one play where, oh, nice. Cliff got the ball in the paint. Cliff does a little move. Cliff misses. Cliff gets a rebound.
Yeah.
Cliff, fucking 90 mile per hour fastball at the rim.
Yeah, it was the same.
Cliff gets it again.
Line drive,
90 mile per hour fastball again. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Well, the funny thing is, like, when you watch a guy like Dickinson, he has a lot of the same touch problems, but he's way better at locating the ball. Like how many balls did he throw like really hard off the backboard last night? But they just like, he knew the angle to hit off the backboard and they went in. Like, if you don't have much touch, you need to have great accuracy and like understanding how the ball bounces off the backboard, and Cliff doesn't have that yet.
No, and I think that's what we also talked about before. They don't have a big man coach technically. If you look at the coaching staff, Steve Peichel, guard, Carl Hobbs, guard, TJ Thompson, guard. Who else am I missing? Brandon Knight, another guard.
Yep.
Hire a big man coach. Like they need that. And stop saying Stephen Hayden. He's not a big man coach.
Yeah.
If he was. I can't even I hate to knock the guy, but he was like a D2 coach. Like you need to play with the big boys here. Look at Seton Hall. They have I forget his last name, Grant Bismile or something like that. New Jersey, like St. Pat's or St. Elizabeth, one of the two. I forget what it was. Played for one of those like big parochial Catholic schools, dominated. Now look at Seton Hall. They have a dominant big man after dominant big man after dominant big man.
Yep.
Like you need to invest in a big man coach. You don't have Jay Young anymore. Like you can't keep doing this. You might have to go like I know Mike said it before. You have to go outside your circle a little bit. You can't just keep going and hiring guard after guard after guard after guard. Like, yes, we get it. Your guards are great. That's phenomenal. You don't have a goddamn big man, and you didn't even have a backup big man last night. Again.
Yeah.
Because the one you recruited kind of sucks.
Yeah. I think Ralph A.G. Gonzalez is hurt, right?
Yeah.
Or Gonzalez A.G., whatever his name is.
He had a family thing, but he just got back a day or so ago. So him and I know him and Palmquist didn't play, but I'm sure next game you'll probably see AG get some minutes.
You don't have a choice. I mean, what are you gonna do? Just play small ball, I guess. I don't even know what you do. Like it's questionable. Dean Reaver's playing contributing minutes, and they're okay, I guess. But yeah, I was very tempted after the biggest thing I took away from this game, and I think you read it in my little recap. I wanted to give Caleb McConnell the player of the game so bad.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for Gio dropping 27, like just this close to giving Caleb that player of the game. He did everything. There was like a possession where he had that and one. Very next possession, he runs down the court, playing defense, on-ball defense on Eli Brooks. Perfect. Makes him chuck up a stupid shot. Gets the rebound. He gets hit with an elbow on the rebound where you saw him like step up real quick. Then proceeds to go back down. I forget what they did on the offensive side. Then comes back, takes an offensive charge, and it's just like, what the fuck, man?
I'm a big Caleb fan. I'm a big fan of his game. I'm a big defense and hustle guy. So if you do that, now you get my props all day long.
And I know he didn't have a steal last night, so I don't know if he's still in the lead for the conference, but he was.
I think he was. He was leading the conference.
He was. I don't know if but he didn't have any last night for this box score.
So no, he didn't have. I think Ron had like 3. But technically, like Caleb kind of caused the steals, even though he didn't get credit. He didn't get credited with them.
It's tough. He does a lot that doesn't pop up in the box score.
Sure, absolutely. It's like Paul sometimes is the same way. He's kind of a gritty guy.
Paul needs to embrace that role.
Yeah. He has 60. I didn't realize he has 60 assists. He leads the team by like a wide mark. His assist to turnover ratio has been fantastic lately. I wrote that in my article as well.
Mike said he surpassed the 200 mark.
Yeah, 200 assists. Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, so I'm super happy for Caleb because he's been such a huge part of the Pike rebuild. He had a really rough start to the season. Like his first like 5 or 6 games, he was shooting like, I think it was 8 for 37 to start the season. And he's like made a massive turnaround, and he's just like a very efficient offensive player. Like he doesn't take a ton of shots, but typically when he gets the ball, he knows, you know, if I'm wide open, I need to take the shot and I need to be confident in taking the shot because that's what the team expects of me. They don't expect the offense to roll through me. But if I get that shot, I need to take it. And he does lead the team in terms of defense. Like the best players are guarded by Caleb. Like that's just kind of the way it is. And another interesting thing I noticed, and we've talked about this as well, they're playing Ron a lot in like small ball lineups as the center. And he's doing a decent job of at least like disrupting shots, like not making it easy on big men down the paint, which will be huge for him in terms of his NBA prospects, because he's kind of a tweener. Like he's not really a small forward. He's not really a power forward. So he's going to need to have kind of like a hybrid role and kind of demonstrate that. So I'm glad Pike is giving him the opportunity to show he has those abilities. The last thing, another weird thing, they had a lot of like end of the shot clock, like prayer shots that went in.
They did. Yeah.
And so like that is not consistent. That's not going to carry over. So they do need to still get a little better at shot selection and kind of having an offense that flows and, you know, funnels the ball to an open shooter and not like, oh shit, there's 7 seconds left on the shot clock. Like how many times do you think the crowd helped them by chanting like 6, 5, like to know like you need to get a shot up.
And they got lucky making a couple of those. I know Ron made one, Gio made one, I think. Yeah. So
Ron's was ridiculous. He was like on his back foot, like shooting a prayer.
That was like a 24-footer too.
Yeah, it was absolutely ridiculous. And one thing I wanted to talk about too that we didn't really harp on that much. Someone said on the boards, they're like, yeah, like Cliff needs to get back in the strength and conditioning room. Like, like it's so hard. Like you're not gonna be facing a 290-pound center every day of the week. Like
in the Big Ten, you know, every team basically has.
I mean, it's only kind of like Dickinson and Coburn, from what I can tell, really, because like John Herrera's not 290 or anywhere near like their size.
Edie Williams and Purdue. I mean, they beat
Williams.
them.
Yeah, EJ Waddell's nowhere near, and he's damn good. Like he might be one of the best players he is the best player in conference, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe
it's a close one. But yeah, no, I stop overrating the strength and conditioning aspect. He played pretty well. He needs to learn the game more offensively, and then in terms of boxing out, he could have so many more rebounds if he just put his body on a box out. He's boxing out ghosts half the time.
And you can't really build muscle and strength in season. Like that is something that happens in the off season. Like you can maintain it. There's no way you're going to be able to build muscle during the season, especially how cardio intensive basketball is. Like you can't do it.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you play, you know, 3 games in 6 days, 7 days.
That doesn't help either. Yeah. But like everyone keeps talking about, he had back-to-back games of 12 rebounds. He should have had at least like 17 against Central Connecticut. Like there's so many like box outs he misses, and it's just like I don't know if he's just not, he doesn't know like to put his body on somebody, if that's the lack of a big man coach not being on the staff or whatever it is, that needs to be adjusted and that needs to be fixed. And you could have a goddamn dominant center night in and night out if you just fixed the little things like that.
Yeah, going back to his, you know, line drive hook shots. If he can learn some post moves, he could be dangerous. You know, it seems like when he gets the ball in the post, like he doesn't know what to do with it. So.
It's athleticism. It's either dunking from outside the cylinder, which is wild, but
his dunks are like he has crazy long arms, super athletic. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like he could jump out the building. He just needs to develop a post move, like anything. And I don't even know like what you attribute that to. And that goes back to the coach again. Like you need a big man coach. This offseason, that should be the biggest priority. I'm telling you, and I said it like 2 podcasts ago. I think he went to that Nigerian national team camp and fucking Mike Woodson's like, what the fuck? Did they teach you anything? Like I'm telling you, like his potential's through the roof. They just have to develop him a little bit. Like, and that's another guy. You can't be playing your starting center 35 minutes.
Yep, for sure.
Bad.
So the month of January is going to be huge for Rutgers. So between now and February 5th, we play 8 games. None of them are against ranked opponents. We get Nebraska twice, We get Northwestern, we get Maryland twice, we get Iowa, and we get Minnesota and Penn State. So
Mhm.
this is a stretch. They don't play any ranked teams in this stretch until they play
Michigan State.
Michigan State on the 10th or on the 5th.
Mhm.
So if we're going to be an NCAA team, this is a stretch where we need to start cleaning up on wins, especially road wins, because in that same stretch, 5 of the next 8 games are on the road, which typically have not been an area of strength for this team. This is going to be the make or break month for Rutgers. If
Yeah.
they go 6-2 in that 8-game stretch, we have a legitimate shot at making the tournament. If they go 4-4, we're probably out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I touched on that also at the very bottom of the article that I wrote up this morning. Yeah, I mean, Rutgers, going by the net rankings, Rutgers is 122nd right now. Only Nebraska, the Big Ten, is behind them in the 200s. They're very, very winnable games coming up. All those teams you mentioned, Rutgers currently is ahead of them in the Big Ten standings. But it's only a couple games in. But net wise, all those teams are ahead of Rutgers. So it definitely won't be easy, but it's good to kind of get a break from the ranked teams. Coming into the season, Michigan, Purdue, and Illinois were, the top 3 consensus teams. So they went 2-1 against those teams, which is, a really good sign. Obviously Michigan's maybe not what it was supposed to be, but they're still a very good team. But yeah, you got to take care of business. You can't lose to Nebraska. You can't, you had Northwestern coming up. So, I mean, Rutgers is 8-1 at home and 0-4 on the road. So like I said, playing on the road has been, not one of Rutgers' strengths lately. In the past couple seasons, they've always been a really good home team. But yeah, they're going to have to definitely pick up some road victories, which again will obviously help with the NCAA tournament hopes.
Yeah, you can't. If you lose one of these Nebraska games, I'd probably wrap it up right there. This is a bad Nebraska team. After that, this Penn State team is not as bad as people think. They just beat Indiana pretty handedly. I mean, it was a close score in the end, but they handled them pretty well. They're a very good defensive team. Their new head coach, Micah Shrewsbury, has got these guys playing on another level. They're tall and lengthy too. They just don't have a legit big man. That's where Cliff is going to have to attack John Harrar a little bit. After Harrar, I forget who the backup big is. It's no one really that good, I don't think. But Maryland's on a down year. You got to beat those two.
Yeah, they just lost their coach a couple weeks ago too. Which, I mean, if you talk to a Maryland fan, that might be a huge benefit. Because it doesn't sound like anybody really liked Turgeon.
Yeah, I don't know. I never understood that. I think Mark Turgeon's a good coach. I don't understand.
Yeah, they hated him for some reason. Your Iowa one's going to be tough. It's home though, so you have a shot. 8:30 on a Wednesday.
Yeah, they usually play Iowa tough, even though Iowa scores like a crap ton of points.
Yeah, and then Minnesota is one of the best teams in the conference. I think they're 10-2, 10-3, something like that. So it's
but they're 10-2, but they're 1-2 in conference. So
they lose too.
Iowa's won 4 straight. I wrote, and then they just beat Maryland on Monday.
To Minnesota's last game, they lost by 23 to Illinois at home.
2, 3.
We also got our doors blown off.
Yeah, that was Illinois, like 86-51 or something like that. Yeah, that was bad.
If you want to make the tournament, you got to win 6 of these next 8.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Yeah, they've kind of put themselves in kind of a bad situation. Like they dug themselves into a hole basically. They didn't play well even the games they won, and then they lost close games to DePaul. UMass was a killer. Lafayette, that was just a really terrible loss there. Lafayette's net ranking is like in the 300. So I mean, yeah, they gotta do some damage still in the Big Ten season to give themselves a shot.
Yeah, the Purdue win. I know someone else said it. I think Andy Katz or one of those bracketologists. It's pure gold for them right now, and that's what they're gonna ride on if they're gonna make this tournament. It's gonna be tough. They're gonna have to play lights out for the rest of the season pretty much, and it's without like other guys scoring, it's going to be scary. It's going to be a scary year. We'll see what happens.
Yep. That's why this next game is so important. Hopefully we get a comfortable lead so we can get the role players, the young guys in the game into situations where they can become more comfortable. Cause I feel like there might just be a lack of confidence with some of the young guys. Like Jaden Jones is probably the most physically talented player on the team, but every time he gets the ball, he doesn't look like he has confidence in taking an open shot or getting a handoff and like taking 2 dribbles and taking a pull up. Like he doesn't look comfortable right now.
Because he
And
gets taken out after one stupid play. And it's like, you got to let the freshman rock. Look at Jalen Miller. You wanted to redshirt him, and now look at him.
Mm-hmm.
Just let these guys run. Let them go. Like, loosen the leash a little bit on the rotation. Like, stop making it like very adamant of these 5 have to play 30 minutes a game. Like, you can make a couple of substitutions here and there. So sub out guys. Sub out Hyatt when he does something stupid. Don't give him another 15 minutes.
Yeah, I know Pike always talks about how he likes his veteran guys. But I think I mean the formula is working kind of right now, the last 3 games.
It's tough to argue now,
Yeah, but they definitely need, they can't, it's a long season. Other guys we've been, talking about, they got, other guys are going to have to step up for sure. So
we'll see.
Yep.
What else we got?
That's really all. Actually, there's one more thing I wanted to talk about. So wrestling had the MatMen Open previously, or also may be known as the Midlands. The Midlands got canceled this year, and the MatMen took over what would have been the field. Rutgers had a pretty strong showing. I think we finished 5th at the MatMen, but a few of our wrestlers had some really nice showings. Bolzuk won at 197 over the NCAA finalists from last year. Paz won. Rivera won. Now we have 3 wrestlers in the top 5. There's 3 that I mentioned. I think we have a home duel with Indiana on Friday, if I remember correctly. Just kick off Big Ten play. I think that's our first Big Ten match, right?
I believe so. Yeah, you're right. No, they did really, really well. And the 2 guys that like no one wants to talk about, or no one really talks about, because Bolsick was the main event right there. But Oliveri and White, they both finished 5th and 4th respectively, or 4th and 5th, or vice versa. I forget what it was. But they did very, very well. It kind of shows you that these redshirt freshmen are going to be ready for the future, and the future for this program is bright. It is insane how many good guys they have. This year, and I think we said it preseason, this might be their best overall team ever. From top to bottom, they have guys that could win matches they're not supposed to, like Bolsick, for example. I don't think anyone saw him winning that one. And then he defeats the runner-up, a national championship runner-up. And it's like, holy shit, maybe they do have a contender at that weight. Add in Paz, add in Rivera, and it's like, all right, now you just need a couple other guys to just make some noise. And it's like, all right, let's see what happens.
Yeah, and we're 10-0 right now in terms of dual record. This is a team that could go like 17-4, 18-3. Like we have some tough matchups on the schedule, but I mean we've got only 3 matchups with top 10 programs in Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan. Those are probably going to be losses because 2 of the 3 are on the road. But
yeah,
I mean teams like Wisconsin, who's ranked 17th, Illinois is ranked 21st. Like those are teams that we should beat this year.
Yeah, no, I mean I don't see a reason why they shouldn't. I know Lex kind of commented on everything on the board. Alvarez is a little dinged up, so we'll see what happens there. Jackson Turley's dealing with some stuff still. But they have dudes that could kind of step up, and it's like, all right, well, it's basically just let's see what happens. It's going to be interesting.
Yep. So I think they have how many matches at home this year? They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 remaining duels at home. Sure that the wrestling program would love to see you guys out there. We have one of the best home crowds in all of college wrestling. It's going to be a great team. We have some really exciting matches coming up for the wrestling team. So keep listening in for that. But I don't really have anything else. You guys got any final send-off messages for Rutgers fans for this week's episode?
Not really. I hope everyone had a happy holidays, I guess. A happy new year to everybody as well. So
yeah,
yes.
Chris said it. Happy New Year, everybody. Yeah, that's it. Grant Mertz sucks.
Oh man, you gotta get that in, I guess, huh?
Yeah, everybody now take a sip of your drink because the Graham Mertz drinking game has hit on the bingo card.
Yep. He's pretty bad. He's not a good quarterback. That's all I got. Davison Igbenosin committing Saturday, we think, I guess.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know. Other than that, Danny Hernandez article, QB trainer, Gavin Wimsatt, talking Bryce Young, talking Malik Murphy. Interesting. What else? We should see a coaching hire or coaching leaving sometime soon.
Yeah. I have a football article from the bowl game coming up. I wrote another basketball article like I've been talking about. So yeah, look out for that stuff, this week or next week.
We did start following an interesting guy who entered the portal today, JMU receiver Antoine Wells. He's a redshirt freshman, and he had like a stupid stat line this year. Like in terms of receiving, here's a stat line as a redshirt freshman at JMU: 83 catches, 1,250 yards, and 15 touchdowns. Jeez. Total stud. Second team All-American. He's from Virginia.
What school?
James Madison.
Oh, all right.
So they're one of the top 10 programs in the FCS, but he's from Richmond, Virginia.
That's gonna be a tough one.
Yep.
Watch out for Tony Elliott and Brent Pry on that one.
Yep. Not many New Jersey guys entering the portal, which is kind of surprising. There was a guy who went to Buffalo, I believe, who ended up
not Chris Marino. I know his name too.
Yeah, he committed to yes. He committed to Missouri. Rutgers didn't show any interest in him.
No, he likes Michael Maietti though, and Rutgers obviously doesn't like Maietti.
Yeah, but he was from North Jersey. I think he was from Wayne Hills or Wayne Valley.
Wayne Hills. He played with the Hayeks.
So that would have been potentially a night. He didn't really grade well on PFF. He's played a lot though, and obviously, if he can play in the SEC, he can probably play here. But
not according. I'm not going to get into it. Maietti, man, declaring for an NFL draft. Jeez.
Yeah.
He's a good.
He was like second team All-American this year. He was really good.
If I'm Chris, I hang my hat on that one.
Mm-hmm.
I got him.
And Corsack.
Yeah, that's
Yo, by the way, did you see that? The Adam Corsack video yesterday. Like I didn't realize that dude really gets like incredibly pumped up for the games. That was pretty wild. Screaming in the tunnel. So
if you punt like 8 times, 10 times a game, you'd be pretty hyped too.
Yeah.
What? I don't get why he's coming back. Like he could probably land an NFL job potentially right now, and I mean he's only going to get. I think he's older anyway. I think he's like 24.
Yeah, something like that. He just wants that Ray Guy award, dude. That's all it is.
Is that it?
He always says he loves Rutgers. He likes the coaches. He likes being around the team. He likes teammates. So I mean,
it's weird because like I get it. Like some people argue his style won't transfer well to the NFL. It's going to be fine. It's not a big deal. I just don't understand either why he came back. Like it's like, oh, okay, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thrilled that he's going to be back. He's probably the front runner for the Ray Guy, and I think the Ray Guy award is like not really a nuanced award. Like the guy from San Diego State won it just because he like kicks it really far. Like how many fucking touchbacks did that guy have? Like, yeah, sure, that ball traveled this distance in the air, but you have no precision on it. You're just like booming it into the third row. Cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a shame that, of course, I didn't get it.
Yeah, those damn Ray Guy voters. I hate them.
Yeah. Good thing there's none in this chat so we can bash all of them.
Yeah, I bet the vote was one off, and someone else on this podcast.
I don't know if I can reveal my vote. I did my job.
There you go.
So I mean, I might have showed a little bias there, but whatever.
I mean, the other finalist was another team someone else covers. So who knows?
I'm not saying I voted him second, but I voted him second.
There you go. Okay.
He's good. You can't lie.
He was good
against Rutgers. He's pretty damn good too. And that guy did place kicking too for them and kickoffs.
I mean, really? That's like the Pat McAfee special.
Yeah, I could see him getting drafted actually, or picked up. I don't know if they draft punters anymore.
Occasionally, I think Michael Dixon was the guy who went the highest recently. The guy from Texas who's now with Seattle. He's also Australian. He's total stud. I think he went in like the 4th round. Even it was wild.
Huh, interesting. Yep. But yeah, that's all I got.
Cool.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We don't know. I don't think we're going to do a regular like weekly schedule moving forward outside of the football season. This won't be the last you've heard of us probably this month. But if you don't see a pod in your feed next week, it's because this is kind of going to be more sporadic moving forward until things kind of pick back up. But thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.